Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This is part 2 of the difference between the old and the new covenant. And it's going to be a short video. I wanted to really bring out the differences of the old and new covenant in a more clear way. And so I'm going to take you to 2 mountains that the Bible talks about. And in those mountains, we're going to find out at those mountains what happened. All right. So I got the old and the new. I got a mountain up here. And then I got a mountain over here. What happened? Moses was here. He gave the 10. He gave the 10 commandments. This is Mount Sinai. Okay? And this focuses on man. So what man can do. Focuses on man. Man's potential, or man's ability, right? This is found in Exodus 19. And I like to call this the MSN minus factor. So this is the MSM minus factor. Okay. Why do I call it the MSM minus factor? Because 3,000 people died after Moses came down and brought them the 10 commandments. Okay, so 3,000 people died here. 3,000 people died. People died. And so then let's go over here and say, okay, this is Zion. This is Mount Zion. This is where Jesus is. This is Jesus. Okay? And what happened at Mount Zion? The Spirit was poured out. The Spirit came. Okay? This is all about God's ability. This is God's ability. What God can do, right? I call this the MZP factor, plus factor. Because this is the Mount Zion plus factor. When the Spirit was poured out, when the day of Pentecost had fully come, 3,000 people were saved. 3,000 people saved. This Mount Zion, that's in the book of Acts, in chapter 2. The Sinai experience, or the Sinai minus factor, is in Exodus 19 and 20, right? So here we have this is a ministry of death. Let me get a smaller utensil here. So this is here under the ministry of the 10 commandments. We have, this is a ministry of death. Ministry of death. Okay. All right. Over here, this is ministry of life. All right. Over at Mount Sinai, the law was given, gave the law. Right. Over here, the Spirit was given. The Spirit was sent. Over here we've got the law points out people's sin. So this points out sin, points out sin. And then over here, under the new covenant of grace, this points to Christ, points to Jesus, Yeshua. Okay, and under the law, this was a ministry of condemnation. So we got condemnation. Condemnation. And under the new covenant, it's a ministry of righteousness. Righteousness. Running out of room here. Okay, so under the law, the Bible does say that that was glorious. It had a type of glory during its time, but the glory was fading. This glory was fading. This glory faded. But under the new covenant of grace, the glory exceeds and excels in glory. So this is this glory exceeds and excels. And so I hope this helps to make things a little bit more clear when we're talking about the differences between the old and the new covenant, okay? And so Hebrews is very clear. If you go to Hebrews 12, Hebrews is very clear that we have not come to this mountain here, under the old covenant. We've come to Mount Zion over here. And so if you want to check that out, Hebrews 12 talks about Mount Zion. And I'll just read it real quick for you. This is chapter 12, verse 18. For you are not come unto the mount that might be touched, that burned with fire, nor blackness or darkness or tempest, and the sound of a trumpet and the voice of words, which voiced when they heard it, entreated that the word should not be spoken to them anymore. For they could not endure that which was commanded, and if so much as a beast touched the mountain, it was going to be stoned or thrust through with a dart. So terrible was the sight that Moses said, I exceedingly fear and quake. So there's like fear built around Mount Sinai, but there's grace surrounds the new covenant under grace. All right. If you go back further real quick in Hebrews, earlier in chapter 12, it says, looking diligently lest any man fail or lack, that word is lack, of the grace of God. And so when it's talking about now this Mount Zion next, but you are come in unto Mount Zion, unto the city of the living God, the heavenly Jerusalem, and to innumerable company of angels, to the general assembly of the church of the firstborn, which are written in heaven, and to God, the judge of all, and to the spirits of just men made perfect, and to Jesus, the mediator of the new covenant, and the blood of the sprinkling that speaks better things than that of Abel. And so, if you go back a little bit further, in verse 28, it says, we receiving a kingdom which cannot be moved, let us have grace. So we see that this mountain that we have come to is Mount Zion. And before it talks about Mount Zion, there it says, let us not lack the grace, right, of God. And then after it talks about Mount Zion, it says, let us have grace. So we see that the mountain that we've come to was called Mount Zion. And I just wanted to show that difference for you guys, and hopefully that's more clear to you. So, hey, if this spoke to you, if you found value, if you found this useful for your life, give me a comment below, guys. Hit the subscribe button, share, and all that good stuff. It's late, so I'm out of here. Peace, guys.